Zulu have sacked coach Benni McCarthy after overseeing 60 official matches for the club. Usuthu are yet to win a league match this year and were also knocked out of the Nedbank Cup round of 32. They're ninth on the log with 29 points from 23 matches. Now McCarthy joined the Amazulu back in 2020 October after time without a job following his sacking by Cape Town City in 2019. And joining me just to chat a bit more about this is Amazulu FC chairman Sandile Zungu. Mr. Zungu, thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening. I mean, just getting straight into it, what are those exact factors that led to you or the club parting with Benni?
It's very simple. We have great ambition to be a top quartile team, effectively to be in the top four. Such ambitions are in serious jeopardy right now. We lie ninth. We have 29 points. We have 21 points to play for. If we're not careful at the current conversion ratio, we'll be hanging on the top 8 by the skins of our teeth. That is not acceptable for Amazulu. We needed to make change to rescue and salvage our pride in the current campaign. And hence we felt we needed to act now. And also the next 7 games will assist us to prepare for the next season. We need to decide which players to retain and which players to send packing effectively. And it was very important that we use the next 7 games as effectively a trial period on all the players and technical people, as well as the administrative staff. So it's quite tough times for Amazulu.
I mean, obviously with news like this, there's a lot of reaction, especially from the club's supporters or football fans as a whole. What do you say to those that are currently saying that they feel like the club owed Benni another season, especially the fact that he did that unexpected last season? At least you should have seen him through until the end of the season.
People who say that are looking at Amazulu through the prism of old, that Amazulu must be grateful for being in top flight, even if they just barely survive relegation. That is Amazulu of old. Amazulu of today is an ambitious team that wants to be firmly in the top 4. And below top 4, we will deem that to be failure. And when we see that looming, that failure looming, we see a need for change. And change could come in many forms. It does not mean changing technical teams or basically changing coaches. But in this specific case, we felt the most appropriate change is the one that will change the mood even in the dressing room. And therefore the parting of ways with the coach.
I mean, apart from the need to change a coach, why would you think the club is not doing as well as it did last season?
Many factors. Number one, most of the teams now understand how Amazulu plays, and they come in prepared much better than they were last season, and probably we have not stayed ahead of our own game, and hence. In short, we've been caught out. Number two, players being humans, they become very complacent, and they internalize the fact that they are number 2 team, and therefore you can't touch us. And they become, what do you call it, arrogant. And arrogance, which is negative, can lead to huge disappointments. It could well be that even the technical personnel got a little bit tired and were not as hungry as they were last season. And maybe we didn't bolster the squad as effectively as we had hoped. We didn't bring on the quality of players that would have stood us in better stead in the current campaign. There's a combination of factors. Maybe we as leaders didn't lead as well as we should have. So we're not pointing one finger at one person. We're basically all of us taking responsibility. That's why it's important that we set a good example and say we've got 7 games to go towards the end of the season. And if we don't achieve a top 4 finish, all hell may break loose. The draw shall be in Drankwater, as they say in Afrikaans.
I mean, in the statement that the club sent out, you said it was an amicable agreement between you and Coach Benni. Would you say in the sit-down that you had with him, that if you did have a sit-down with him just to tell him about this news, he himself felt, yes, perhaps I'm not performing up to the standard that I'm expected to perform as a coach?
I met him on a one-on-one basis in a very amicable manner to assess the state of the team, our approach to the previous games, what made us fail. And it was really up to me to go and mull over the issues we discussed. And I came to a conclusion that the best thing to do for us now is to change the leader. And not to cast aspersions on him, but to change the leader for the good of the team. And that's exactly what we did. We do appreciate the role that Benni played to take us from just above relegation zone when he came on board last season to number 2 on the log, making us compete in CAF Champions League for the first time since our establishment in 1932, to win Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, Goal of the Year, Goalkeeper of the Year. We won so many accolades last season, but that was last season. In soccer, unfortunately, what matters is not the form last season. What matters is the form today. Because how you play today will decide whether you go to the lower ranks or you stay in top flight, whether you win campaigns or you don't. So for us, it's very simple. In leadership, it's about taking decisions and backing them with objectivity and evidence.
I mean, you are right in terms of seasons not being the same. Right now, with you also being in the Champions League, I can only imagine the workload in terms of the number of matches that now the team has to deal with, which is something that the team hasn't dealt with before. From your point of view then, where or what do you...
Realistically, we can be in the top 4. We really can. We have 21 points to play for, and if you look at the log table in the last 4 seasons, maybe only one season where the number 4 was above 50 points. You had number 3 and number 4, 54 points. Can't remember which season it was. But if you've got 50 points, you are top 4 material in the DSTV Premier Soccer League. So we have a technical fighting chance to fight for our pride. However, if we maintained the path we're on, I can tell you now we'll end up with 37 points this season, which means we'll either be number 9 or number 8. And that's not good enough for a team that purports to be content or to be wanting to be in the top quartile of the Premier Soccer League.
So from your point of view, you think Benni wouldn't have been able to turn the corner like he did from relegation all the way to the top 4, top 2?
No, he wouldn't have been.
What makes you so sure?
And 100%, he will not have been able to salvage the current situation to secure us a top 4 finish. Like I said, it's a combination of factors. Short of him throwing his hands in the air, but he was possibly at his wit's end with the attitude of players towards him and his techniques. That's why then there's a need for change. He did not lose the boardroom, or rather the dressing room, not at all. But it's quite clear to me that the players need a different kind of noise, different kind of motivation to get them to perform at the level where they quite respectfully belong.
So would you say the players in the playroom or in the change room weren't really in favor of Coach Benni anymore?
No, I would not say that, not at all. And why I say that is not being diplomatic. I spoke to the players individually, about 18 of them, and none of them said, we've got no confidence in Benni McCarthy. None. They remained very respectful of him. They remained cordial towards him. In the dressing room, there will always be one issue or the other. Notwithstanding, so it was not a case of them losing confidence in Benni, not at all. But I take responsibility as a leader of the club to say, look, I'm an engineer. I believe in projections. I believe in science, and sports is a science as well. If my conversion ratio is 42%, out of 69 points, I've got 29. And if I project to the next 21 games and I'm going to get only 9 points, that's not good enough. And let me repeat, I want Amazulu to be a top quartile team. And on my side, I'll do the damnedest best to make that possible. I'll go to the transfer market and bring in a coach with pedigree.
All right.
To help us to succeed. But in the meantime, I needed to make the change that is important. I don't owe anyone any undying gratefulness. Right. Neither does anyone owe me any perpetual gratefulness. Soccer is a team of the current. If you don't perform, you go to relegation. If you perform, you may win cup after cup. It's been done, and at Amazulu we'll endeavor to salvage our situation and put ourselves on a trajectory for greatness.
Chairman, we have run out of time. Thank you very much for your time, and wishing you and Amazulu FC nothing but the best moving forward. That is Chairman of Amazulu FC, just talking about how the club has parted ways with Benni McCarthy.